Welcome to this edition of One on One, where we interview some of the most influential people of our community. Our guest today is Lisa Lobel, co-owner and casting director at Boston Casting. With over 20 years of experience, some of Lisa's projects include Dexter: New Blood, Netflix's I Care a Lot, and Free Guy, starring Ryan Reynolds. She was also nominated for an Artiest Award by the Casting Society of America in Best Local Casting for her work on the film Sound of Metal. Today, she's here to give her insight on the current state of the industry and her role as a casting director. Welcome to the show, Lisa.
Thank you.
Based on your experience, what are some of the most important aspects to consider when you're casting talent?
Getting to know the director and his vision for the script is, one of the most important parts of it. You really have to get inside his or her brain. And, because this is always at the very, very beginning, before anything's happened. So oftentimes, there's no locations, we're right at the beginning. So I think lots of conversations with the director, reading the script over a couple of times, and then, just getting a feel for, you can visualize it, once you read it, speak to your director, you start to visualize it, and then, different trial and error, and just feeling it.
In the audition room, right at that moment, do you have any specific methods or approaches when you're choosing a talent?
These days we do most of our first round auditions by self-tapes. Which is actually great because it kind of allows us to see more options than we normally would if they have to all come into the office, because there's only so many hours in the day. So this kind of gives us an opportunity to see more people. And then, Sundays we'll send it back with direction. If we think it should be a little bit different, have them send it back. And then, see who feels right and which one is really, moving the story along and speaking to that role. We get to see it so many times, in so many different versions of a scene that we're able to, direct the talent. You start to feel like what works, what doesn't work, what's funny, what's not funny, and you can sort of pull it out of them.
And you recently attended the premiere for Dexter. What was that experience like? And did you feel like any more pressure being involved in such a well-known series?
No, the premiere was great. That was actually my first real red carpet experience where I was actually on the carpet. That was epic. At that point, I think you just feel pride, that it's exciting to see it. I got so many great compliments that night from the writers, directors, showrunners. My associate and I worked on that for 8 or 9 months, 10 episodes. And I think we really took, Boston actors had some really meaty roles in there, which is kind of new to this area. To have some recurring roles and guest stars and lots of dialogue. So.
Yeah, and you mentioned having Boston actors. Well, for Boston Casting, you founded the Media Performance Division. What were your intentions for that, and has it impacted Boston Casting a lot?
My business partner and I have watched the industry grow, crazy growth over the last 2 decades. And I think it was just a way for us to help the actors keep their skills fresh, elevate themselves to the next level, practice, meet great teachers and coaches and fellow actors, and use our studios nights and weekends, and, really, really bring it up a notch.
Well, switching gears a bit, I want to talk about the recent decision to make permanent the Massachusetts tax credit, 25% production credit, 25% payroll credit, and sales tax exemption for projects that qualify. In your words, what does that mean for the production industry in Boston?
Well, basically the 25% tax credit had, up until a few months ago, it had a sunset clause on it. So the intention was that this would just get the industry rolling, and then that tax credit would be removed. Fortunately, that sunset clause was removed. Our tax credits are permanent, which, means I know productions love coming here. Our crews are amazing. Our actors are amazing. Our locations are amazing. We've got studios that are built, studios being built. So the elimination of that sunset clause has been a breath of fresh air, and we're just excited. It's going to just grow and grow and grow.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for people who are interested in joining the production scene here?
I mean, I think it's just that there's going to be jobs here. Years ago, people like you and your colleagues would typically leave, go to LA, go to New York to really make a career in this industry. And, that's not the case anymore. You can work in Atlanta, Toronto, Boston, lots of places. So Boston's a great place to be if you love the film industry.
Thank you so much for your input today. One last question before we leave. What would you say is the most rewarding part of your job? The moments where you make you remember why you got into this in the first place?
I think probably when an actor who I know gets a role and I know that they've been working really hard for it and they've really earned it, and telling them that they got it, and that's just like pure joy. That nothing can beat that.
I can imagine. But thank you so much for your time, and thank you all for tuning in on this edition of One on One.